To News X this Saturday morning. I'm Piyushi Sherman. Let's get you started with some breaking news coming in this minute. Well, news just in, with BCCI taking bold steps to curb the menace of conflict of interest in Indian cricket, it has emerged that at least 5 Indian cricketers are associated with an agency that not only manages Virat Kohli but also has business links with the Indian Test captain, who has a big say in deciding the playing 11. While Kholi replaced MS Dhoni as skipper last year, Ishant Sharma and Umesh Yadav signed up with Cornerstone, an agency that already had Rohit Sharma, Murali Vijay and Shikhar Dhawan in its stable, apart from the captain, of course. The company is also in advanced talks with pacer Mohammad Shami. Well, what does this speak of? Let's get to the details from my colleague who is shortly going to join us with further details. But what we can tell you at this point in time, the news that we are breaking this minute, there's a clear case of perhaps the conflict of interest. Conflict of interest, something that is in contention these days, with BCCI taking bold steps to manage and in fact curb the menace of conflict of interest in Indian cricket. It has emerged that at least 5 Indian cricketers are associated with an agency that not only manages Virat Kohli but also captain MS Dhoni, and there are other players as well, other players in its kitty, which includes Ishant Sharma and Umesh Yadav. The agency in question here, called Cornerstone. What are the steps perhaps that will BCCI take is a big question. My colleague now joining us with further details, Santosh, is with us. Santosh, what more can you tell us about this development and the idea of conflict of interest, something that the BCCI is working against? Santosh, if you can hear me, the BCCI is clearly at it. It's working on curbing the menace of conflict of interest, but alongside we have of course, agencies like the Cornerstone, which doesn't only have Virat Kohli but also other players in its kitty. My colleague Shobit now joining us now for further details. Shobit, as far as conflict of interest is concerned, something that BCCI is working to curb, give us the details about the current situation and what steps can be taken. What is it that the BCCI is contemplating to curtail any such conflict of interest from emerging further?
Well, Piyushi, you're spot on there. You know, the BCCI, we just broke the story yesterday. The BCCI has come out with this clause, conflict of interest clause. All members of the BCCI, all associations, including the president, the secretary, everyone has to sign this conflict of interest charge, which means they have to reveal their commercial interests with any IPL team or sponsors or advertisers related to cricket. Now we are hearing that there's this fresh conflict charge against the Test captain, the same conflict of interest charge that was against MS Dhoni. Now in MS Dhoni's case, he had a stake in Preeti Sports, and the company also managed a couple of Indian players, including Raina and Jadeja. Now, in Virat Kohli's case, he's signed up with another sports management company, Cornerstone, and he has business links with a sister concern of Cornerstone. And he has launched an apparel line with this sister company of Cornerstone, which is a player management firm. Now, so he has commercial interests with Cornerstone's sister company. It's the same ownership. And Cornerstone is also managing other Indian players like Rohit Sharma, Vijay, and others, including Ishant Sharma and Umesh Yadav, all of these players are very much part of the Indian team setup. So Kohli has commercial interests with a firm which is also, whose sister concern is also managing Team India players. A major conflict of interest there. How can Kohli have commercial interests with a firm?
Absolutely.
And also pick players are very much part of the Indian team setup. So Kohli has commercial interests with a firm which is also, whose sister concern is also managing Team India players. A major conflict of interest there. How can Kohli have commercial interests with a firm?
Absolutely.
And also pick players for Team India and from a pool of players, 5 of which are associated to his own firm. So it's a clear conflict of interest that Dhoni has also faced, and this is something that the BCCI will have to focus on and clear it out.
Well, clearly, with something, conflict of interest that could lead to a certain domination of certain players, perhaps they could have it their way. These are the things that the BCCI actually wants to avoid at this point in time. My colleague Santosh also joining us now for further details. Santosh, what more can you add to this, really, considering the conflict of interest is a clause, as Shobit pointed out, that the BCCI makes all the players sign early on. But here's another case emerging, you know, having sister concerns of a company which manages these players players having involved in these sister concerns in in a way which profits them, business links and interests. Now that is completely something uncalled for.
Absolutely, Piyushi. The thing is here that Kholi is not an owner in this company. Centerstone. He's just he's a client there. But now the conflict of interest arises is where he has a business venture. He's launched fitness centers, various fitness centers. Plus he's also launched a clothing line with a sister concern company called CSE Consulting. Now this is where the conflict of interest comes in. You have 5 players of Indian which are in the playing 11 of the Indian Test team, and you also have a company which is being managed, which manages Kholi, and that sister company is having business ventures with Kholi. So there's a clear conflict of interest here. BCCI needs to really curb this menace, because earlier also we saw, as Shobit had said, that Dhoni had 15% stake. That's what was reported in Riti Sports Management, which also managed Suresh Raina and Ravindra Jadeja. So you can't have players which are playing in the playing 11 and then managed by the same company. It's just absurd.
But why so? If you could just, for a better understanding of our viewers, why is it? What kind of malpractices could it lead to?
Piyushi, it's quite clear. If Kholi is the Test captain, right? And if he happens to, I mean, no one is saying that Kholi will do that, but he can. The probability exists that Kholi can, help certain players to be in the team, to retain their place in the side, because they are managed by the same company. The company can put pressure on Kholi to do that, because he has money at stake with the sister company. So, this conflict of interest needs to be sorted out.
So, in short, it's just like having a better say. You're the captain of the cricket team, plus you want the players of your choice, and also having business links, and those players too having business links can actually make a domination of sorts for those players, and perhaps some privileges too. I'm joined by Ayaz Menon, in fact, a former cricketer, a cricket enthusiast. Ayaz, how would you perceive the situation panning out in BCCI's clause, despite that, the cases of conflict of interest emerging?
Well, I don't know whether this information is corroborated or not, how far it is true. But if it is, then obviously there is an issue, and Virat Kohli needs to step out of this kind of an arrangement, if it is true.
Okay, but are you totally against this practice? Are you against the idea of this conflict of interest?
I mean, it begs the question, doesn't it? If there's conflict of interest, how can you be in favor of it?
Absolutely. So there you have it. But I ask again, you're not sure about this information. Fair enough. But if that happens, if that does exist, what are the steps that, in your opinion, should be taken?
Well, I think if it is true, then Virat Kohli needs to reconsider his decision and make sure that he is not in a situation where conflict of interest questions are posed at him.
Do you think BCCI should also get cracking? There should be some steps and clear directions, perhaps, to the players?
My information is that the BCCI has already talked about it to everybody concerned, including administrators, officials and players, that they should not have any conflict of interest. That is my information.
All right, Ayaz Menon, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your thoughts here. In fact, some more breaking news coming in. This from Bihar.